So a lot of people struggle when it comes to daily bias, when you can simply just use structure and zones to get a simple yet highly accurate way to determine if you should be buying or selling for the day. So enough wasting time, let's get straight into it. So literally, all you need to do is look at structure, okay? External and internal structure, and you need to look at zones. You just want to see which ones are being respected and which ones are being disrespected. Simple stuff. So let's start with the higher time frame. Now this higher time frame can be anything. In this example, I'll use the 15 minutes. You can see we had a low, a high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low. So that means we are bearish, okay? This is our last break of structure to the downside, which I will put in red. This is our protected high, and this here is our weak low. So our external structure right now is bearish. Now we need to determine right now, are we pulling back towards this high or are we expanding lower towards this low? Because in every trend we have expansions and we have pullbacks. In an uptrend we expand, we pull back, we expand, we pull back. In a downtrend, what do? We expand, we pull back, we expand, we pull back. So we need to know, are we expanding lower or pulling back higher? And you can just tell that by looking at internal structure. If I look at internal structure, I can see we had a high, low, higher high. We came back into this zone. You can even see we swept the tap, higher low, higher high. So as we were continuously putting higher highs and higher lows on the lower time frame, which is just internal structure, if I drop down to the lower time frame, you can see as marked by the dots, high, higher low, 6 tap in here, higher high, higher low, higher high. We are in the pullback phase. Even though externally we are bearish, if anything, we have a bullish bias because we know we're pulling back because internal was bullish. So I can look for scalp these longs, but I do need to know the bigger move is going to be, we're going to respect this high and we're going to break this low because the overall external structure is bearish. So the best plays are going to be to take when they both align. So let's go back to the higher time frame and let's currently see where price is at. So if we go back to the higher time frame, we can see this was our internal protected low and we actually took it. So now external was bearish and internal was bearish. There is no reason to have a bullish bias. And this is our internal protected high because this is where our shift in structure was and this was the high. So now using the structure, we know that price is bearish, both externally and internally. This gives me a bearish bias. There's no reason to look for a long. If I look at zones, our last external zone was here, right? This break of structure. And I can see we are respecting this zone and we are respecting this bearish fair value gap, aligning me, giving me more reason to believe that we should look for shorts. We can also see we broke this last bullish zone, right? We had this bullish zone here we mentioned, in which price put in a first tap, higher high, swept that tap and continued higher. So then we draw a bullish zone from here to here. And as you can see, price broke this zone, giving us this internal change of character. So we're respecting this bearish zone, respecting this bearish fair value gap. Structure is bearish on both, and we just disrespected this bullish zone. So now I'm just looking for bearish zones really to take a play in. And you can see we have, if we look at structure, we have this low to high, this low to high in here, and then we break lower. So I know I can look for a sell below this high because this is where my internal protected high is. My bearish bias remains intact as long as we respect this. So let's draw this first zone we had within here. This is a POI below this high in which I can look for a sell. I can see it has lovely liquidity in here. So now my game plan for the day would be for price to sweep this and then make a lower internal low as we creep down towards here. And let's see what happens. As we can see here, we sweep liquidity and come into this zone. So this is where I can take my short. Stop loss I'd put above this because there's no unmitigated area stopping us from dumping before reaching this high where we're framing our bias on. Still bearish as long as this high holds, and you can target that lower low. This is just pure limiting. I'm not showing confirmation in this video, but just want to show that the bias does work and it works very well. And as you can see, that's exactly what we did, and we actually took this trade on live stream using this exact same thinking. So let's go to this gold next. Bit more complicated, but so nice when you really understand what price is doing. So using the same logic here, let's start with external structure. External structure, you can see we are very bullish on this gold yesterday. We had this high, we candle closed above, we had this protected lows, and we now have this high up here. So externally, we are trading between this low and this high, giving us a very bullish bias. Now, within that, are we expanding or are we pulling back? Well, you can see here that price was definitely pulling back. We had a low and we broke that structure. So this is all internal, so I do a lighter shade. And now, what did we do? So internally, we are trading between this high and this low. Low, lower high, lower low. If we're going to continue lower, we should reject from somewhere below this high. Let's look at zones. So we know externally we are bullish, internally we are bearish. So that tells me on the pullback phase, I would be favoring shorts. Now I look at zones. That's the second step to confirm my bias on that. Well, zones between this low and this high, because this is our internal zone, we have this down to up and we have this down to up here. So let me mark it out here. We've mitigated 50%, so this automatically gets deleted. And now we have this. Now, what do we notice? So if we're going to reject, and if we're going to stop ourselves taking this high here, we should reject from this supply. Price put in a first tap in the supply, so we can see a 6 tap forming. We go to sweep this tap, but most importantly, what do we notice? We can see this tap actually failed to make a lower low. So now we have to think, okay, this could be bullish, because if sellers were in control, if sellers were still winning, this 6 tap should have played out. There's nothing above that price is going to tap into before dumping. So they're going to dump from here or it isn't. So the fact that price didn't make a lower low, right? And then most importantly, we stopped out all these sellers here. We broke this high, confirms my bullish bias for higher prices, because now I know internally we are flipping back to bullish. Externally, we are always bullish. Demand, buyers, it stopped this high making a low from this supply zone. So we're disrespecting this supply zone. And the buyers also took out these sellers who entered here, breaking this supply zone here. So that all gives me a bullish bias. Now, if I know I have a bullish bias, I know I can look for a bullish zone. And this is the high that we broke. So we have a little internal breaker structure to the upside here. We have a low here. So now I can draw a zone from here to here. And I can expect price to respect this zone and put in a higher high. So for example's sake, right, I'll just limit at 50% of this zone, stop loss below, and I'll target whatever higher high price is looking to put in. So as we retrace, there is the tag. As you can see, right, it does come super close, right? Super close. This is real life market examples. Right, let's zoom in. Super close to this low here, but it did not take it out. Okay, no candle closed and it did not wick it. So this trade is still valid and we're still expecting a higher high. This is just how the market moves sometimes. And as you can see, it rips up. And what does it do? It takes out this high as planned, because we now knew that once this supply zone failed to make a new low and we'd stopped out everyone here, this supply zone was going to break and we were going to shift internally bullish. There was nothing stopping us from taking this high. So we switched bullish and we looked for a bullish zone such as this one. It came into here, closed but respected it, and then put in a new high and eventually took out that high as planned. I'm telling you, once you learn how to read structure properly and once you learn how to read zones properly, bias becomes a simple method. Now, if you want a one-on-one mentorship where I hold your hand and teach you exactly how to trade my strategy, you can apply through the link below. And I also have a premium Discord where I live stream every single day, and you can get access to my course. The link is in the description below. Apart from that, appreciate your time as always. Appreciate any likes and subscribes, and I'll catch you in the next video.